Hello and welcome to the Work for Change podcast. My name is Jean, spelled like Gene.
And my name is John with a silent H.
And welcome to episode 19. For all you guys who listen to all 19 episodes, just want to say, I'm sorry.
I wasn't expecting you. But I agree. Yes, I agree. 100%.
Like, why are you...
Why are you listening to us?
But we really do appreciate it. Just everyone who's been listening, everyone who's been leaving a review, been leaving a rating. It's been super awesome. And we can hope to make 19 more awesome episodes for you.
That's it. Only 19 more.
Yeah, what we didn't tell you guys is this is a 38 season run.
Yeah.
Or a 38 episode season. Yeah. And then from there, we're going to pack the bags and go on.
That's it.
No, that's not what we're doing. But if you are enjoying the Work for Change podcast, please let us know. You can leave a review. You can leave a star rating. You can post us on Instagram, on your story. Use the hashtag Work for Change podcast wherever you are. And my handle is @JeanGlad if you want to tag me and we can chat.
Yeah. And if you want to tag me, Obese the Beast, or if you want to be super cool, the personal Instagram, John_Glad, and we can hang out.
But I want to give you a caveat, like, don't follow John Glad because he doesn't really post anything good on there. He just posts whatever. He's like, this probably isn't good enough for us Beast to Beast. John Glad.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
I can post really weird stuff. Like this week, yesterday, I filmed. So there's this video that it was popular a while ago, but then for some reason it got popular among our friends.
I don't think it was ever popular. I think that you just have some weird friends.
It's true.
Who find weird.
But basically,
basically,
I did a parody of this video. If you want to know what I'm talking about, it's on John Glad Instagram. But it's just a very weird video about a guy talking about hot sauce being put in his weenie hole. It is very weird. So weird.
Yeah.
The original video that I covered it's so much funnier than the one I did. But I just wanted to do it because I thought it would be funny, and obviously I'm not going to put that on Obese to Beast, so. It goes to John Glad, where...
So it lives on John Glad.
Yep.
Which thus furthers my point that there's nothing of value on that page.
Except for good laughs and good times.
If you do want some good laughs, just go to his Instagram, John Glad, and then scroll all the way down because he still has all of his personal stuff from before you lost the weight.
Yeah, if you want to see... there's not many pictures of me when I was heavier because I did not at all... I didn't take any pictures of myself, but there's pictures of other people. There's... none of that stuff is PC either. I'm scared people are going to go look now.
Do you ever... Stuff. I often will go back to... Not often, but every once in a while, I'll go back to my earliest Instagram posts and I'm just like...
Oh, yeah.
Why did I think that this was needed for the world?
There's a picture of Starburst and Brisk, and it's like me at lunch when I worked at Van Shoe Store, and it was like, lunchtime. I wonder why I was obese.
Yeah, I know,
Starburst
right?
and Brisk was lunch. But yeah.
Yeah, I had really weird ones. Like one time, it was just a picture of Christmas lights. And that's it. I don't even know. And I put it was heavily filtered, and it was the early Instagram filters that had each one had a border.
The border. See, well, you can't hate on the early Instagram pictures because the whole thing about Instagram was that you could put filters on.
Yeah.
That was before. Think about it. Before that, you could not do anything, right? So that's what made Instagram cool was the filters. But yeah, this is a long intro.
Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoy episode 19 of the Work for Change podcast. So how's the Open going for you so far?
I'm actually really, really happy with it.
Yeah?
Very, very happy.
If there was a leaderboard between me and you,
I'd be winning.
It'd be 2 checks you, 0 checks me.
So that's why I'm happy
Even though we got the same exact score on 19.2.
Same number.
Yeah, but you got the tiebreak time.
Yeah, but I beat you by 10 seconds, I think. Tell them the story about you. So well, we should explain the workout a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll explain the workout. Fine. So it's hard to explain. So it's basically the workout starts with an 8-minute window, and in that 8 minutes, you have to complete 25 toes to bar, 50 double unders, and then 15. This is for men. 15 squat cleans at 135, and then you have to do 25 toes to bar, 50 double unders again, but then you have 13 cleans at 185. If you complete that in 8 minutes, then you get 4 minutes more to do, again, 25 toes to bar, 50 double unders, and then it's... Was it 11? 11 squat cleans at 225. And then we're not going to talk about the rest because both of us did not get
275 and 350.
Yeah, then it goes up in weight that we did not get to.
Yeah.
So I'll the way that it went for me, I'll just tell my story since it's a lot shorter than yours is. So my goal was to make it to 225. I did not realize how lofty of a goal that was until I did the workout. And until I saw other people doing the workout, because it's funny, so I've been filming all the workouts and putting them on my second channel. Because that's kind of where all the CrossFit stuff lives, and I want to really brand that channel right as like a CrossFit channel. So I've been putting all the workouts up there, which is it's crazy. Like it's so funny. 100%. There are people that come to the video, look what my score was, and then leave because there's like tons of views. Like the last one has like 35,000 for that channel that's a lot. That would even be good for my main channel, right? Yeah. So and then they don't leave a like, they don't comment. It's just like these ghost people that are like watching and disappearing, right? It's very weird.
I did that. Yeah, not to yours, but to some other people. I'm like, what did they get?
Yeah. So
fast forward.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So I ended up being able to meet that goal. So I did the 13 cleans at 185. I literally had like 5 seconds left before I hit the last clean. But I remember after I did that last clean at 185, I was like, I in my head, so my first goal was to get to 225, just to get past the 185. So in my head, I was like, well, I kind of got my goal because I had to do singles and it wasn't a choice. It was like, that's all I could do on the toes to bar after that. And then luckily, thank God, I was able to get all sets of the double unders. I was able to do unbroken, which if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have been able to get to 225. And then I ended up finally getting to the 225 bar with maybe like 25 seconds left. I needed to breathe. I could not do it right away. And then I hit it. And so in the rule book, you're allowed to do a power clean front squat. So that's what I did because my power clean is much better than my squat clean. And I was like, I don't want to fail this squat clean. So I was like, I'd rather just power clean it. So I ended up getting 1 rep. So that's 254, I think is the total reps that I got, and my tie break time was like I don't remember what it was, but that's how it went for me. I was really happy with it. I was really happy with it.
So then that night, Friday night, I do 19.2, and I was just thinking like, all right, I'm gonna go from singles on toes to bar from the start because that was what Watt Prep said. That's what a lot of people said they were gonna do. The problem was that I've never practiced singles on toes to bar.
So like, are your single toes to bar quick or not?
They're not that quick because
mine are pretty fast.
I'm not used to breaking. I'm pretty good at toes to bar.
You're better at toes to bar than I am.
Yeah, and so it's like I'm not used to doing them again. Like you have to do it. Like you kind of have to jump behind it, get the swing, and then use the swing to jump behind the bar again. And I kept on jumping in front of the bar and then step back, jump. And so it was not very.
It just wasn't efficient.
No.
Yeah.
So I finished my first set of toes to bar in 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then eventually, I go back singles again. Double unders, all my double unders were unbroken. Start doing cleans, and I just ran out of time. Like I didn't give myself enough time during the second set of cleans to make it.
How many cleans did you get?
10.
So you had 5 left, or 3 left.
I had 3 left.
Okay,
yeah.
So you got 10.
Yeah. And then, so I'm kind of like, all right, I guess that's my score. Like,
because you didn't want to redo any.
I know. I don't care enough. Like I really.
Well, that's obviously not true.
I didn't. I don't know. It's not that I wanted a better score. Like I didn't care enough about having a. Okay, like let's get real. Okay,
yeah, let's get real.
I really don't care. But then I wasn't planning on doing it again. And then Beyond the Whiteboard, which does a lot of like CrossFit statistics, posted the overall trend of people's scores so far for 19.2, and it was like this huge number. Exactly where I was. Like huge, gigantic, huge. A lot of people got the exact same score I got. And then the moment it went to like the first toes to bar in the third round, it dramatically dropped. Like ridiculously dropped off. And so it was kind of this like, I'm just a statistic. Like, I don't want to be just a statistic. Like it literally was like this, like, I need to prove that I'm better than just a statistic. And so
was it that? But was part of it too? Like mentally, you felt like you could have done more too. Like you didn't. I
think that I think that my that's what I'm saying though. I probably could have done better, and my strategy wasn't perfect. But it was kind of like, in my mindset, it was like, oh, well, you live and you learn. I don't need to redo it to know that my strategy wasn't perfect. You know, it was just kind of like, oh, now I know. There's proof in my score that I didn't strategize well. Seeing that I was literally just like a stat, like in that big lump of people, was enough for me to kind of be like, I need to do this. And it's nothing we've ever talked about on this like podcast, but like if you do your Enneagram, my Enneagram is number 4, which is the individualist, which is the I hate being grouped up with people. Like I hate it. Like it makes me so mad. And so that
I'm number 6 for anyone that is going to ask. The loyalist.
Yeah. And so it's like for me to be in the biggest grouping of people was enough for me to redo it the next day. And so I redid it the next day.
You did it in like less than 12 hours between.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. It was like 13 hours. Or
okay.
And
this was fun.
Yeah. So that one, everyone was at the gym. They knew I did it the night before. They were all watching because there was some like Wadapalooza athlete or something doing it during the same heat as me, which is awesome. And so it was pretty cool because there's 4 of us going at one time, and 4 minutes or, the 3, 2, 1, go. I get off toes to bar in a minute. So I already saved 30 seconds. I was already like, okay, this is awesome. Double unders, unbroken, cleans, boom. And then I'm at 3:30. I'm like, okay, now I have over double the time or, to do this next set. Toes to bar. And this time I didn't do singles. I did like sets of 5. And then double unders, unbroken again. Boom, get done with those cleans at like 7:45 or something, like plenty of time.
How did you feel after that?
Then I was done. I was like done. Like I wanted a minute in between, and then I wanted to do more toes to bar. But everyone was yelling at me to keep on going, so then it became singles. And then I did some sets of 3, some sets of just a few sets of 3. I never even made it to 5.
Well, because at the time I was judging my girlfriend, and then she got time capped at the 8 minutes. So then I was able to start screaming at John, basically.
Yeah. So then like I said, there was 4 people, and then 8 minutes, 2 of them drop off, and then it's me and Wadapalooza girl. And so I'm like,
she's a beast for sure.
And I was like, this is sick, And so but she she lapped me in that workout, which is ridiculous. I'm like still doing toes to bar, and she finished her cleans and was on toes to bar again for the next round. And so long story short, boom, did them. Eventually did singles. Was able to get the double unders unbroken. I had less than a minute at this point. Get off the last toes to bar. I have less than a minute.
Yeah, I was worried. I was like, ooh, I don't know about this.
Yeah, and then I did 50 double unders in like 25, 30 seconds. And then it was like I had 15 seconds, and I grabbed the bar, squat cleaned it, and I knew that you had power cleaned it, and I was like, should I do that? Should I do that? Should I do that? I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it. And so then I squat cleaned, got it up, and everyone was like, ah! And then my time was done, and I was laying on the ground dead, and Wadapalooza girl was still going.
Yeah, she was. I literally, like, when he finished the double unders, he hunched over, I grabbed him and brought him over. I was like, you don't have time. You do not have time to like hunch over. You have to hit this right now.
And I weakly tried to push him off me.
Yeah,
it's like, get off.
Get off of me. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things I think about the Open and like just CrossFit in general is that like having people to push you that hard. Now, there definitely is, probably shouldn't talk about this because we like CrossFit, but like there's definitely a bad side of that because people will push people that should not be pushed with the cleans. One thing I will never understand is why CrossFit will repost people that have the most, like the worst form I have ever seen on the planet Earth. Why do they do that?
I don't know.
Why? Did you see some of them?
No.
Oh my gosh. Why? I get it, like having someone post it, and like if it's just your couple of friends, nobody's gonna say anything. But once you put it on CrossFit Instagram that has millions or at least 1 million followers, like what do you think is gonna happen?
Yeah.
So I can only imagine being that person that like that you posted it to your 1,000 people that follow you. You tag CrossFit, like not expecting them to do anything, and they repost it, and every comment is about look at their knees. Oh my gosh, they're gonna break their knees. Their form is horrible, which. I mean, if you have bad form, you have bad form, But I just, I don't know why they do it. I don't know why they do it. I think you should just be like, maybe this one I won't post on millions of people that are just going to judge this person.
Yeah, and it's funny because like CrossFit will do on their Instagram, like they'll do certain posts that they know are going to get a lot of hate.
So they just turn off the
And
comments. I've noticed that.
Yeah,
I was like, smooth. All right, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
They literally, if it's like one of the weird, like the old people doing like in that weird room or whatever. The comments are almost always off.
I really love the jokes people make. So like I'm like, ooh, what are the comments going to be? Oh, dang it.
The comments can't be fun. As long as they're not making fun of like the person doing it, it's cool. You know, it's just making fun of like, is it the Married with Children set or whatever? Like super old looking.
Or it's just, and then it's just like, people are funny, man. But no, they turn off the comments so we can't see them. But another like person who like hated on CrossFit that went like totally viral was Jillian Michaels, right? Mm-hmm. So she posts this. I think we already talked about it, but like she posts this clip on Shape, the Instagram page from a blog that she had on their magazine or something. And she basically ripped on CrossFit, saying like it's dangerous. There's not enough variability within the movements. There's only 20 to 25 movements. All the workouts work out the same domain. It's all power output. There's no like aerobic conditioning and stuff. And it's just like it was just so ill-informed.
The thing that blew me away, because I mean, I made a whole video about her, right? Yeah. About that. I've made 2 videos about her, actually. I can't stand her anymore. I cannot. I used to actually be a fan, for sure, like for real. When I used to like was bigger and I would watch The Biggest Loser, I was like, wow, like I was a fan but scared of her because she was like the hardcore judge. Like that was her thing on The Biggest Loser. Yeah, was like the hardcore. Like her team wore black a lot of times. Like I remember that. Like she was like didn't care. Now, I think The Biggest Loser is one of the worst shows on planet Earth. Like, so bad for people. But, like, I was, like, a fan of her. And now, I genuinely think, like, she's doing this, and we're playing right into it, right, to talk about her. Because what she said about keto was, like, so ridiculously, that was another, like, whole thing that, you know. But then when she said about CrossFit, it was, like, the issues she had were, like, the complete opposite of what most people say. Because most people say you do too much in CrossFit. There's too much variability. You're never actually excelling at anything because you're becoming a jack of all trades, you're a master of none kind of thing. Yeah. But her thing was like, there's not enough. I'm like, what other type of exercise are you doing more? Like I was like, what is she doing that has more, but yeah.
So she, got ripped to shreds on meme pages and Instagram and
CrossFit meme pages.
Yeah. So then Shape did this like, they commented on that post and they're like, if you guys do CrossFit, like send us a DM. We'd love to learn more. I was like, come on, guys, you're just trying to make yourself not look as bad. But then they did interview Rich Froning. And so Shape actually posted an interview with Rich Froning about CrossFit. And he was like, oh yeah, like in typical like Rich fashion, like kind of monotone when he talks and just.
Was it a video?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a video. I thought I've read a little bit of the article.
No, yeah,
like he posted. I just swiped up and read it on Instagram.
No, so it was like video, and he's like, here's what I did just this week in training, and it was like handstand walk, parallel squats, back squat, front squat, overhead snatch, clean and jerk, ran, I swam, he literally was like that was just in 1 week, and basically his whole thing, he's like, in my gym we have people from 7 to 70, working out at moderate levels of intensity, like, and so his whole thing, just the typical like CrossFit, like, oh yeah, someone who actually knows what it is, like, and then he starts off by saying like, I've been competing in CrossFit for like 10 years. I've won the CrossFit Games 4 times, won with the team 3 times. You know what I mean? Like, kind of did that whole thing, or, but yeah, it was pretty interesting, and I don't know, I just feel like CrossFit is like everyone hates on it, but it also like has helped so many sports. Like especially like Olympic weightlifting was dying. It really was. Like as sad as it is, like it was dying. They were struggling to get people at their meets. And now it's like they're exploded. And like some of the best, like Maddie Rogers was doing CrossFit before she like got into weightlifting, but during weightlifting she was like, "Oh, I like doing this way more than CrossFit," but she found that out through CrossFit.
It introduces people. Like I don't really know too much about like I don't know how weightlifting was doing. I don't really know about that stuff, but all I know is that CrossFit is introducing people. Because what's cool is it introduces you to so many things. And then if you're someone that's like for some reason CrossFit isn't the thing that you like, but you're like, wow, when we were running, I really like that. Yeah, start running, right? Yeah. Or when we're Olympic lift, or when we do deadlifts, I really like that. So you start doing powerlifting or whatever it might be.
Like that's like our friend Meg, like Meg Swats. Like she was doing CrossFit also, and then was like, I really like the strength part of it, you know, and then boom, went to what was it called?
Powerlifting.
Powerlifting, yeah. I was like, crap, it's not strongman. It's not strongman. It's not strongman. But even like strongman stuff, like a lot of people, like strongman has kind of had a resurgence from people lifting and doing odd object stuff.
Yeah,
And
no,
being,
absolutely it has. And so again, like I always try and say, like, I'm not that person that's trying to force people to do CrossFit. You have to do CrossFit. You have to do CrossFit. But find something that you enjoy, and don't be Jillian Michaels and try and poop all over something that somebody else might like.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what I'm curious about? This is super random, but someone that I have also followed from The Biggest Loser, his name's Bob Harper. So he's somebody that really, really liked CrossFit a lot, and he actually he went through a heart attack, which is pretty crazy. I have no idea about that, but I'm curious to see, like, it would be cool to have them the interview with both of them or something. You know what I mean? Oh, that'd be crazy.
Even if they're friends still.
I know. I wonder. I doubt it. I don't know.
Bob. The context is that he's a huge proponent of CrossFit.
Yeah.
You know, like he is actively, regularly doing it. I don't know if he is anymore. After the heart attack, he might have to have taken it a lot lightly. But he's at every CrossFit event. He's, you know, wearing Rogue, doing all that stuff. So that would be it's very interesting how they've diverged paths too. And is Bob still the host of The Biggest Loser, or is he not?
I have no idea. I have not. I won't watch that show anymore. I'm not even sure if it's still on. There's other shows that honestly I think are a little bit better when it comes to massive weight loss.
So how do you feel about the 600-pound weight life? My 600-pound.
I don't mind it.
I've never watched it.
I think that
I've literally never watched it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's one thing that they do really well, which is messed up, but they shoot. So, you know, when you're filming a video, you want it to come from above, right? Or taking a picture, you always look better when the camera's above you. They literally shoot these 600-pound people from under them because, you know, you have such a big gut, you know what I mean? So they do that well, if you want to call it well, you know, in quotes, but it's really interesting because it does show you what inactivity and what the body is capable of getting to. And it doesn't sugarcoat anything. It shows how hard these people's lives are, because there's a huge movement called, you know, health at every size. And I'm not trying to get into the whole debate on that, but you cannot argue that is unhealthy. You can't. You can't argue that. And all these people that are on the show believe that, because the reason they're on the show is because they want there's a doctor. His name's Dr. Now. He's the guy that does all the surgeries. It's basically they get weight loss surgery and they follow them, right? So they obviously don't think they're healthy either.
But they have to do a lot of work before they're even allowed the weight loss surgery.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. So that's his whole thing, is that he puts them on usually a 1,200 calorie diet, and he
How do you feel about that?
When it comes to that size, so you know how I feel about diets. You know what I mean? I think you should want to eat as much as possible to continue losing weight. But when you're that size, you are going to die soon.
Yeah.
So you need to do something fast. So I don't have an issue with that.
And your body's probably not going to starve because it's got
It's not going to starve.
Yeah.
You aren't going to. If you're that big, you are not starving to death.
Okay.
It's not going to happen. So I agree. I think that it makes sense. And so basically you have
1,200 calories.
Yeah, 1,200 calories. You have to lose a certain amount of weight. Usually he'll be 50 to 60 pounds in a month, which sounds like a lot, but when you're 600 pounds, it's not that crazy. And what's crazy is a lot of times people, you're on this show and they still don't lose the weight. There's been times where, because I haven't seen every episode. I've seen maybe 10, maybe 12. There's people that literally never end up getting the surgery, because they just can't stick to it. And so what I've noticed is that usually if somebody gets that big, there's a couple things in life that are going on. One, it seems that the person is pretty low income. This is just things I've noticed. Low income. Two, they're not highly educated. That's just from what I've seen. And the third thing that I've noticed is there's always somebody enabling them. They're never living alone. There's always someone going and getting food for them. You know what I mean? Making it so they can continue their weight. So I think that show is really interesting. And I honestly don't have an issue with that show. I think that it's good. Compared to The Biggest Loser, which it's crazy, because I remember when I was bigger, mom would watch it and stuff like that, right? And I remember I would see it on in the living room and just walk straight into my room, because the conversation was coming. The conversation was coming, and she would cry watching it and come to me and be like, I'm so sorry. Like, and I get it. I understand that she felt a lot of guilt for my size. She really did. And there was even one point, that she wanted to apply because they had a show that had like parents and kids. And she was like, I'm going to apply for that.
It was like a kids episode or a kids season of
Biggest Loser.
Biggest Loser,
but with the adults too. So it was like, and she like really wanted to do that. So for a while I was like, I didn't like watching it, and then I started for some reason like to enjoy it. But I remember I wasn't, because like I really felt like for a while I really felt like after I got over being like upset about the show being on or being scared of it, which sounds weird, but that's how I felt. I started to really think that's the only way that I'll ever lose weight is something like that. Being at some sort of ranch place that I literally don't have options. Towards the end they started like literally putting like candy and things to tempt people, which is messed up. But if there's cameras on you, for me, I feel like I would have been all right. But I really felt like that's the only way. That's the only way I can do it. And so, the big
are there? What were you gonna say?
It's just terrible. I'm not a fan.
Are there any shows? Okay, so outside of 600 Pound Life, is there another show that's like an accurate way, or is the problem that extreme is like sexy?
Exactly.
So no one, like, the moderate path isn't.
The moderate path is never going to be marketable. Yeah. And there's another show called like One Ton Family or something like that. I've never seen that one, but I've heard good things about that too. But yeah, like you were saying, the moderate is never marketable. Yeah, I like that saying.
That is cool. A good saying.
I made it up just now. But that's the thing. That's the issue. I don't want to say issue, but that's what I preach. Is you don't need to do crazy things unless you are literally to a point where you're going to die soon, right? When you're like 600, 700 pounds. But if you're if you need to lose 100, even 200 pounds or anything, after that or before that, you don't need to do anything super crazy. You just need to make smarter choices. And, being a caloric deficit doesn't have to be a super crazy deficit. But, I mean, I've said this stuff a million times, but.
Yeah, and so before, like, I didn't want to do anything to change my diet. I was just like, I'll work out more. I'm kind of over that because time is more important than eating whatever I want. So I'm on this thing that I'm calling "Don't Be an A-hole" diet. No, don't eat like an A-hole diet. And it's literally
but you held on to that for a long time. They're like, I'll just work out more.
Yeah,
just like I'll eat whatever. I'll eat a pizza on Friday or Saturday or whatever.
I did have pizza last night, but it was planned pizza. Like it was like a planned. We're going to do this on Sunday night.
What kind of pizza was it?
California Pizza Kitchen. So it's the one from the freezer. And so that one's like got the least calories of all the pizzas
it's
in
like,
the aisle.
What is it for the whole thing?
Like 900. It's not or something like.
If you plan for that, it's
not
terrible.
Exactly. And so it's like
my oatmeal is 1,200 calories.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like really crazy. Like especially the barbecue chicken pizza is like 700.
Well, that's the thing. Pizza is one of those things that we just automatically think, because most of the times it is, right? It's very dense in calories, but you can always make it.
You can do like a thin crust. You can do but yeah, that's kind of my thing right now is like, don't eat like an a-hole. But that's like, and what I mean by that is like, if you think of someone who's like a typical like a-hole, like a jerk, like all they think about is what they want at that moment and no one else, no other repercussions, no other thing. And then that's someone we consider a jerk because they're not thinking about anyone else. So if you think about it that way, like if you're only eating because you're hungry right now and what do you want right now, like then in the morning you're going to want this highly dense meal. And then in the afternoon, you're going to be like, oh, I want this highly dense meal. And then for dinner, you're going to be like, oh, I want this. And you're not thinking about like, what did I have in the morning? What did I have for lunch? Or, maybe I should taper down a little bit on breakfast and lunch because I know that for dinner, we're going out. It doesn't mean you have to like destroy your life and be like super incompatible with anyone else. It's just being thoughtful. Or don't eat like an a-hole.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the biggest skills I think is important to learn when it comes to like if you want to lose a significant amount of weight and not, because I don't think that you should have to track for the rest of your life. But that's what I do is like basically like what you're explaining is kind of like intuitive eating almost, right? Like,
but I like my name better.
Yeah, it's a better name for sure. Yeah, but that's like that's a skill that really is a skill to think of when you're eating a meal. Think of, okay, what am I going to be having next? What am I doing for the rest of the day? You know what I mean? Yeah. And then because a lot of people, they don't think about that. They just think about what I'm hungry right now. What can I get right now?
And for me, that'll be Chipotle every time.
Every time. Yeah.
Literally every time.
Absolutely.
Be like 9 a.m. Oh, Chipotle's not open yet. I'll wait. No, I won't wait. I'll just go somewhere else for breakfast and then get Chipotle.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I think that's exactly like that's what, because for me, I've always said, you know, tracking. I think tracking is something that most people should do. Almost everyone, I think, should learn how to track, because tracking calories and macros and stuff like that is a skill that you have. Because when you start to track, you learn, okay, so there's this many calories in this thing. There's, you know what I mean? So you can look at food in a different way and be like, okay, there's this many calories in these. So what should I do there?
I think of it more like not calories, but like I had oatmeal this morning. So for dinner, it'll be salad, you know, or something where it's like less carbs at night because I had a lot of carbs in the morning. Like mine are like, what is like the biggest thing in this meal? Like what is the biggest macronutrient? And then it's like, okay, I got to make sure that I do less of that in another meal. Like it's very loose, but it is kind of intentional, like throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what I do now. Like a lot of people ask me, "Do you track anymore?" I'm like, I haven't tracked in years.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mentally kind of track, and I make sure. And for me, a lot of the stuff I eat is the same, anyways. Like during the week, I pretty much have the same schedule. So I'm like, this time I eat this time I eat this. But during the weekends, it's definitely a lot of times like I won't eat until like 2:00. You know, I might have like a little bar because I know that I'm going to go out to eat with my girlfriend or with you guys, and I want to enjoy that food and have French fries because I love French fries. So I need to save the calories for that.
So before this podcast, you were talking about how hungry you were. And now we've decided to spend the entire podcast talking about food.
I'm feeling fine. I had coffee, so that's a good appetite suppressant, you know, the caffeine.
Yeah.
But so one thing I wanted to bring up, so I put on my Instagram, I put up like, hey, if you guys have any questions that you guys maybe want us to talk about on the podcast, let's do it. So I figured we could answer some of those.
Yeah, let's chat.
Does it sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so this first one is different worldviews you may have had when you were obese compared to now. So for you, like, is there anything that you look at like differently? Because I mean, I guess when you looked at you before, you weren't like, people wouldn't have been like, that guy's obese. But if your BMI, you were probably obese. So that question could work for you.
I mean, I was obese on the scale, but I always thought the scale was dumb. You know what I mean? Like not scale, but like the BMI, like the doctor's BMI.
The BMI
and I still am.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, me too.
So it's like, okay, cool. But what's crazy is like, for me, I know it's wrong. And so I don't feel anything about it. But like when we had Eric on and the BMI told him he was obese, that started this crazy cycle for him.
Yeah.
You know? And for me, I'm just kind of like, screw you.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you're stupid.
Yeah, you're stupid. I'm not obese. But I will say, that it kind of showed me like I can do what I put my mind to. You know? There's like that song where it's like, I know I can be what I want to be. If I work hard at it, I'll be who I want to be. It's like an old rap song that just popped in my head right now.
Nice, dude.
Wow.
I don't know what song that is, though.
Anyway, the idea is like, I wanted to lose weight. I learned what I needed to do to lose weight, and then I lost weight. And like that empowering of like, I'm not going to just get fatter every year. You know, like just literally the empowerment of knowing I'm in control of this. 100%. I'm in charge. When I did, like, you know, I was a thick boy for a little bit. I'm like getting better at it again. But even when I was like happy and in a relationship and just kind of gaining weight, like it was never like this like stressful, like, oh no, it's happening again. It was like, okay, I need to stop eating the way I'm eating and just get it back in. And so now I'm back on the weight loss train, the shredding for the wedding, and I feel good about it, you know?
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like, it's less of a daunting, like, I'm going to get fat, and more of a, okay, you know, like.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's really powerful is because a lot of people, they treat it as I'm going to get, like, I don't have a choice. I'm going to get fat.
And that's how I thought, that's how it was before. It was just like, I'm just getting fatter and fatter. I'm just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it was for me. Like I remember, I got used to when I was in school and stuff. Like every year, got a bigger shirt size. Like when we went back to school, the only time we ever were able to get clothes was back to school time. And so every year it was okay, bigger shirts.
Yeah.
All right, we have to get bigger pants because these ones are getting really tight. And one thing I've noticed, this is kind of
what was your biggest size?
My biggest shirt was 5X or maybe 6X. I forget exactly. And then my biggest waist size was 56-inch waist.
When I started, I was doing a XX shirt and 36-inch pants. For me, that was like when I was like, that's when I started getting like, I was wearing XX. I didn't need to, but I just felt more comfortable in it, you know? And then
that's what always was my mindset of getting a bigger size was like, yeah, but it's just more like I don't need to be a 5X, but like it's more comfortable.
But yeah, and so seeing those sizes like was like it's happening. Like, oh man, like
yeah.
But
I remember one thing that I don't have to do now, which is nice. I used to always have to scan whenever I would go anywhere, most of the time like restaurants, I would always have to scan the seats to see if I could fit in them. Because for me, I was so big that if a seat had like arms, right, on the side of it, if they weren't big enough, I could not sit in that chair. Or if it's a booth and the table doesn't slide, I can't fit there, So it's nice that I don't have to deal with that anymore. And I remember I used to feel like really upset before about how the world wasn't more kind of made for me.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I feel like that's a pretty self-centered way to think. And now I don't think of that stuff at all. And I get it. Like, it's frustrating when you can't fit into certain things. It's frustrating when, like for me, when I would go shopping for clothes, I couldn't find my size anywhere normal. I'd have to either buy clothes at Walmart, or there's a place here called Mario's that like literally the only place I could go to buy pants.
Yeah.
Or online. But like it was a little bit before you were ordering stuff online all the time. Right? So for me it's hard because like it would be frustrating still if that was an issue for me, but I just remember thinking like, why isn't everything kind of tailored to me?
Yeah.
And so I've definitely look at the world a lot differently now that I've lost the weight. And yeah.
It's interesting, like that could be, there's so many other things that applies to. And not like, I don't want to like get deep into this at all, but just like thinking about like when you disagree with someone and they like fundamentally disagree with you, like instead of being like, wow, they're wrong, like that maybe is a good thing to be like, where are they coming from? Because they experience life way different than you. That could be economic, that could be racial, that could be whatever. Like they experience life way different than you. And so, we like to talk about lifestyle and mindset and health. That ties into both of them right there.
Well, no, I mean, it's true. And when you think when you're that big, especially when it comes to like, like places to sit or like clothes, when I would think about it, it makes sense. Like, because they're, most of America now is obese, but they weren't as big as I was. So it makes sense why companies wouldn't make clothes that were that big, because there's not that many people. There's certain than like you could go to like a big and tall section or whatever, and you're going to have limited selection, but there's still selection for you there. But I just remember I would think about it and it would make sense, but it still didn't change the fact that I was mad about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this makes sense why, these chairs aren't made to support someone that's 360 pounds and as wide as I am, but it still didn't change the fact that it made me mad. And it definitely didn't change the fact that I broke a lot of chairs too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you were very overweight, morbidly obese. We know that. We talk about that. But like, man, how lucky are you that you still stayed active?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just thinking about that. Because then I was thinking about, okay, well, people who are bigger than you, what did they do?
Yeah.
And I know what they did. They didn't go out.
Yeah. So the issue that I was pretty active. It's funny. I was thinking about this recently. I was pretty active, especially like in high school. So I graduated when I was 17 and I started losing weight when I was 20. So I would gain weight, like obviously all throughout high school, I gained a lot of weight, but it wasn't super quick, But then the 3 years that I was out of high school, like 2.5 years that I was out of high school, I gained weight so much faster because I used to have to ride my bike to school or skate to school, whichever one I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I would go to this place called Youth Venture afterwards. So to get there, I had to either skate, bike, or walk, right? It's like, close to a mile walk every day at least. At school, you're walking around. But then once I got out of school and I was going to college for a little bit, but then once I was out of college, it was literally like take the bus to work, come home. That's all I would do. I wouldn't do anything else. And so I started gaining weight even faster. And that's the recipe.
Did you stop feeling like, did you feel unhealthy in high school?
Oh yeah.
Did you feel like I'm doing something, like I'm Not
I
just
felt,
look, but
yeah,
like mentally.
not
like,
not as much because I was active.
Yeah.
I would skateboard. I played DDR. I was like super good. I would literally played on the highest level, right? So I was like, I would be active. So I would make the jokes like, well, like, you know, I'm big for I'm fast for my size, or, you know, because people would watch me play DDR, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I was good. Like I would do really well and just be sweating buckets, you know. But in my head, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm working out. It was just like I'm playing a video game, you know. And then with skating, it was at first it was like a genuine love, like I really loved doing it, and it was really frustrating when I was bigger because I could only ever ollie, couldn't do anything else because of how just like, you know, the size of how big I was.
Yeah.
And I kind of was like a little weenie too. Like I didn't want to do stuff because I was afraid. But like falling when you're that big too hurts so much more, you know. So it would be frustrating. I'd skate around with friends and be like, they would literally ask like, how can you still only ollie? You've been skating for 5 years.
Yeah.
And like, you know, obviously I wouldn't say it's because I'm big. You know, it would just be, oh, you know, some people it takes longer to learn. And so, but then once I got out of high school and I stopped skating, really stopped like playing DDR, just being active. That's when it was, I got to the point where now I'm afraid, like when I was afraid to be alone. Because I was afraid I was going to have a heart attack, right? That's when those feelings started coming up. Or I was afraid, you know, when I would have chest pains, okay, I'm going to die. And that's when I kind of came to the terms of, okay, when I hit 35, I think I'm not even sure if I'm going to get there. Or definitely not going to get to 40. And you just like, because you're living in that for so long, that's your mindset. So you just start to rationalize like, well, do I really, like in my head, okay, I don't want to speak for other people, but in my head it was like, do I want to get past 40 living like this? Not really. You know, so that's how I felt. Yeah. And the recipe for disaster for most people is, you know, a lot of people, you don't see really, really, really large people in high school most of the time, right? Yeah. Because you have to be kind of active and you just don't have as much time. But it's when people get out of high school and they get home, especially think if you're working from home, right? Or anything, you cease being active. And then once you get to a point where you're immobile, right? When you get so big that you're bedridden, I mean, it's game over almost. It's almost game over for most people because you have no options of burning extra calories. You have to be on such a low calorie diet to lose the weight. It is possible, and that's like what is so cool about that show, My 600-Pound Life, because it showed people that it is possible. And I used to be really, I wouldn't say against weight loss surgery, but I would be like, most people I don't think need it, and still I feel that way. But watching that show has been like, okay, well, like these people, it's helping them out. And so once you get to that point, like I got lucky that I was able to have my click moment before. Yeah. Because, I mean, it was getting there for sure, without a doubt. Like standing up, I worked at the van store. I would work 4-hour shifts and then you'd get a break in between, 15 minutes at least. So I'm standing up for maybe 2 hours at a time. My feet, and I get 2 hours, my feet would kind of hurt if I was standing, but it would be so painful that I would literally have to go to the back and sit down for a little bit. And I am so grateful for the van store for giving me that job. One, they probably shouldn't have because you had to go on ladders and pick up shoes, and the weight limit was 250, and I was like 100 pounds over, right? Yeah. One time I fell off the ladder. It was only from like the third ring, so it wasn't from the top, and my manager looked back at me, and you could tell he was just like, oh no. Luckily I was fine. But it was like, I remember I would literally, because they had a rule where it was like you had to bring 3 to the floor. So if somebody asked for a pair of shoes, you had to bring 2 other pairs for some reason, right? Most of the time I would just bring a size up and size down and be like, I'm not trying to sell this person on shoes they don't want. But I would come out and I would just be drenched in sweat. Like I literally had to have a sweat rag with me when I was at work. And like that's that. And so it's just crazy. So like even that job, it wasn't like I was like, drilling concrete or like outside, but it's for me, that was physical.
Because I worked 6 hours. I worked 6 years in retail. Yeah. Very, very.
Did you even think of that?
No.
Yeah. But for me, it was the biggest struggle.
My feet would hurt, but it was because I would wear like stupid shoes.
Yeah. I was wearing Vans. I wasn't wearing anything better. But like, think about it. For me, I would literally have to think about going being, oh, what shoes you want? Okay. And then you come back and you're drenched in sweat now. Yeah. You know how embarrassing that is? It was not fun. I would have to and then a lot of times I would have to lace people's shoes up. And you know how much, for me at least, I sweat more when I'm trying to concentrate. So I'm trying to concentrate, literally dripping sweat on people's shoes sometimes. It was horrible. I don't know how I got into this conversation, but that was rough. That was definitely luckily for me, that was the only job I had when I was at my heaviest. because I started losing weight when I was working at Vans, and then I actually ended up getting a job at Vons. I was working at Vans and Vons, and that's when I lost most of my weight. But like, yeah, it was tough. Like everything is harder. It just is.
Were you at your lowest weight? Like, not lowest, but like, were you at a healthy weight at Vans? Like, was Vans able to see you go
Not
from...
all the way, no, because I ended up getting, like, basically I got another job at Vons. I was like a bagger, courtesy clerk is what they call it. Then I got a job in the meat department.
Yeah.
And it was like 40 hours a week, so I just couldn't work at Vans anymore. It just didn't make any sense. But I lost a good amount of weight, and I remember like the people that I worked with were so happy for me. Though they were just like, they would walk by, and I'd be standing sideways, and be like, "Whoa, bro, could barely even see you there. You're so skinny." And I'd be like, "Stop it," you know. Yeah. But there was like some cool things that happened. So when I've talked about this before on the channel, but I'm actually wearing them right now. I'm wearing Vans slip-ons. When I worked at the Vans shoe store, there were only like a couple shoes I could actually wear because of how wide my foot was, and then like how wide my ankle.
Skate shoes?
No, so it would be the Authentics, which are, I think, not what you're wearing right now.
I'm wearing old schools.
But it would be just like shoes that like I could make them very, very wide to fit my ankle in. So the slip-ons never were able to. But it was cool because when I was working there, I ended up getting down to a 2XL. And that was the biggest size they carried at Vans. So I remember the first day I was able to actually wear a Vans shirt when I worked there, because before I had to wear just plain like I would wear a plain black shirt or a plain blue shirt or something. And then I got to 3XL, and you were able I'm sorry if this is kind of boring, but they were able to order like special shirts from like HQ or like headquarters or whatever, corporate, and those were 3XLs that said Vans on it, and that was cool. But then I remember when I was actually able to buy a shirt, and it sucked because you get half off when you work at the Vans store. Yeah. So I would have been able to get half off on all of the stuff, but I can only buy.
I think I used your half off.
Oh,
a couple times.
Everybody did.
Yeah. Okay, so when you were super overweight, you said you can only shop at Walmart or Mario's. So that means you were forced to wear that style.
Well, pretty much. It was, or I could like go to like DSW, which is like a big and tall store, but the style is like for like 40-year-old dudes. Yeah. And it's like so expensive. So expensive. So what I could afford was Walmart and Mario's.
So did your like clothing style change once you could start wearing whatever you want?
Yeah, I mean, for me at least, I just didn't have options, at least from what I could see. It was like Dickies, pants or shorts, and a lot of times the shorts would literally come down to like mid-calf because they were so big. And then the shirts were blank shirts or like just real shirts that I would never wear now.
You would wear a lot of like Chicano.
Yeah,
like
well, that's because Mario's
tattoo, like art.
Yeah,
you know?
That's kind of all they cared. Or it would be like big black shirts from Robin Big, rest in peace. But I remember that was one of the first things I think I ever ordered online were shirts from him, his store, because I was like, it was cool. Robin Big was a popular show. People loved Big Black. I loved Big Black. People like called me Big White for a little bit and when I was in high school. So I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. And I looked up to him so much because he made it like almost cool to be, big. And so that was really cool. So I would like a lot of my before pictures, I'm wearing like Big Black clothing.
Did he pass away because of weight?
I think so. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure though. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. But I think so. Yeah.
So then your style changed.
Yeah.
Because you were allowed to wear.
Because then it was like, I had options, and it's funny enough, but that was one of the biggest reasons, was because like I've always liked clothes. I'm not a super stylish guy, but I like to pick out my outfits, and before I didn't have that option.
In junior high, early high school for me, junior high for you, like we were kind of wearing the same style.
Yeah.
Like Dickies, band shirts, whatever. But then eventually I went emo.
And I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Literally, like that's what I would have wanted to wear, but they didn't have pants that would have fit me. Or I remember I used to make the joke that I'd look like a ice cream cone. It'd be like super tight pants and just like such a large
people do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were first able to wear jeans? What brand or what?
I actually used to the first time I ever bought jeans was when I was heavier though. It was at Burlington Coat Factory. They had Rockaware and they had like really big jeans that you could buy. Yeah. I have pictures in those. They're really big. Very, very big. But I think, let me think. When I started losing the weight, first off, I didn't buy clothes that much. So I would be working at Vons with my shirt would be so huge.
Because you'd be wearing the shirt you...
so big. And my pants, I would literally just like, I would have a belt, and it was cool because like you could see all the belt buckles, like, you know, the loops that I was using, or the holes, and my pants would be like, there'd be like 6 inches of just extra fabric. But I remember when the first time I bought like fitted stuff was actually, after I worked at Vaughn's, I ended up getting a job at Toyota San Diego, like selling cars. Not fun. But I ended up you had to get like dress shirts that fit well, dress pants.
Yeah.
That was the first time that I actually bought like pants that fit me.
Nice.
That was weird. Because I was like, whoa, these are tight. But it was like, yeah, they're supposed to be kind of tight, you know?
Yeah.
They're not baggy pants anymore, because that's what I was used to, baggy pants and baggy shorts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't remember like the first like pair of jeans I bought. But I remember like for a while, like I hated jeans, and I'm still not the biggest fan because I didn't know that there were jeans that were like stretchy.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I knew.
And now
emo days.
Yeah.
And I 100%.
Yeah.
Before
Were they stretchy?
Well, girls' jeans were.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Girls'
okay.
jeans were super stretchy. So before skinny jeans, I would wear girls' jeans.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually companies started making skinny jeans. Like, it's weird to think that I was wearing skinny jeans before there were skinny jeans. Like, I literally had to wear girl
you
pants.
literally wore girl pants.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And then, which, you know, style points for me. Yeah, and then I started wearing skinny jeans. And it's weird because now I'm like, I comfortably wear the same sizes that I was wearing in high school. And that just blows my mind.
I comfortably wear the same size I was wearing when I was in junior high.
Yeah.
I think in 7th grade I was already in size large shirts, which is what I wear now. So it's large or extra large because I'm getting extra jacked now.
Yeah.
But, my biggest, like I said, my biggest pants were a size 56. I'm wearing a size 34 now. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Even
because you got them big thighs.
Yeah.
It's not even waist.
I know they're large and in charge. It's one of the, it's just crazy. Like even when I look at my old clothes, I'm just blown away still. Like I don't think it's ever something I'll be used to, because I remember when we all lived together, I would like we would do laundry, right? And like you'd leave stuff in the washer. When I would want to put stuff in the washer, I'd put it in the dryer or whatever. And I remember I would like open your pants, or like it might be in the dryer and I take it out of the dryer, right? I would open your pants and I'd just be like, how does this is not even half, like it wouldn't even be half as big as what my pants were. And I would just think, or like our sisters, right? I would be like, what?
Yeah.
These are like this. They're tiny.
Yeah.
And now I'm wearing the same stuff, you know?
Yeah, you're wearing our sister's clothes.
Yeah, that's only on the weekends. But yeah, so it's nice, but it's definitely something that it's crazy. Like I was super random off topic, but I was thinking to myself, I was in the shower yesterday and I was like looking down at my loose skin, which is not something that I do very often, but I was just kind of like looking, I was like, man, it really makes you remember where you came from, for me at least, you know? It's not like I keep it because of that, but I was just thinking like, wow, it's crazy that because it really is sometimes hard to remember what it was like when I was that big. Mm-hmm. But when I look down at my body, I mean, there's no, like, it's not, definitely happened, you know? Because pictures only do so much. They don't remind you of, like, the mindset that you had.
So people always ask you, eventually we got to get back to the Q&As, but
yeah.
One question in. People in the Q&A were asking you, are you afraid you're going to get overweight again? And your answer is overwhelmingly no.
Yeah.
That's not my question. My question is, are you ever afraid you're not going to be able to relate to people who are overweight?
Yeah.
Because it's been 5-6 years now.
5-6 years now. Yeah. I don't think that I'll ever be afraid of not being able to relate to them, but that sounds bad, but to people that are overweight.
Yeah.
I guess I get afraid that people are going to think that I've just like, you know, I don't remember, or I don't like, that's not something that I'm like, I can speak on because it's been so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something that it's like, well, do people think that I'm just like using it, or like being this person that, I don't know, like is using my weight to like, you know.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I can see where that's coming from, but then I would also say like, that's like, you know, when a veteran makes a company to reach out to other veterans, you know, dealing with PTSD or something. It's like, oh, you're just using your veteran status to reach out to veterans. It's like, yeah, that's a perfect person to do that.
Yeah.
Like, someone who's lost a lot of weight, like, they're a perfect person to reach out to people who need to lose weight.
Well, yeah, and then when I think of it rationally, it's like, well, that should be the most inspiring thing is I lost the weight whatever, say it's in 20 years, right? I lost the weight 26 years ago, and
Yeah.
I've kept it off that whole time.
Yeah.
That should be, and like, so when I think of it rationally, that makes sense. But like, you know, that you get those like those thoughts. I get those thoughts for sure. That's a good question though. It is definitely something that I've thought about though, for sure. You want to go to the next one?
Next question.
All right. The importance of surrounding yourself with positive, like-minded people.
I would say that it is very important, but be careful. If you're only hanging out with negative people, get out of that.
Yeah.
Right? 100% get out of that. If you're only hanging out with people who view and see things the same way you do, get out of that. Like, on the same extent. I think that the majority of the people that you hang out with should be a positive influence that you want to strive to be. Like, if they're like at the next level of life, or if they're at the next level or stage of life that you want to be at, yeah, hang out with them, learn from them, get to know them. Does that mean that you totally abandon everyone who's ever been in your life because they don't view that way? No, that doesn't mean that. But I think that when you are around someone who's eating fish, you notice it at first. Oh, they're eating fish. This is so disgusting. About 10 minutes in, you don't smell the fish anymore. Problem is, you now smell like fish. And so if you're hanging out with a lot of people who are fishy, like what I did there? If you're hanging out with some shady, sketchy people, and at first you're like, oh man,
These people are shady and sketchy. Yeah, I need to get out of this.
And then, 6 months down the line, you're like, these are some of my closest friends. I can't believe I thought that about them.
You're probably shady.
Yeah,
and
you're
sketchy
probably
now.
you're probably somewhat shady and sketchy. And it, like another like anecdote, if you will, is like people always think that no, like I'm on a chair and there are a whole bunch of people down. Like I just want to pull them up on the chair with me. I want to pull them where I am. But like, have you ever tried to pull someone up on a chair versus trying to push someone off a chair? It is so much easier to push the person off the chair. So I think that if you're in that position where you have the highest ground, people aren't looking at you. It is a lot easier for people to look at you and be like, oh, let me push that one down so he doesn't make me feel bad, versus, oh, let me just strive to be like that person. So I think it's like, I don't want to say abandon all your friends so they don't have positive thoughts, but you need to be hanging out with people who can do, you can achieve this, who believe in you.
You want to hang out with people that you want to be like, that you want to strive to aspire to be like, but at the same time, you don't want to just completely leave everybody.
Yeah. And like, if you, like we've talked about this before, if you want to improve your life and they make you feel bad about it, just cut them off.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good, like, don't be an a-hole,
Yeah.
like, don't be like.
You don't need to even let them know you're cutting them off.
Yeah, exactly.
Really? Like,
Or even like, don't have some ridiculous thing where it's like, no, I want to track my macros, every single macro forever. So now I'm going to not hang out with any of my friends ever because they don't track macros. How come they just don't understand me? And it's like, no, that's selfish.
Yeah.
Like you can be healthy and still allow for moderation. But don't, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I'm not wording it well, but don't again.
One thing
if I were to write a book, it would be called "Don't Be an A-hole." And it would be like how to not be an a-hole in like every area of life.
One thing for me that happened, like when I started losing weight, was obviously like my friend group changed and just the people that I related to changed. But it wasn't like this. I never had to like have a conversation with someone and say, "Hey, we can't be friends anymore." It just didn't happen like that. It was just a natural like. I did different things. I was at different places. I was at the gym more. I was, doing different things. So I ended up just I don't know. It's not super profound, but it was like when I spent more time at the gym, I ended up getting more friends from there. Mm-hmm. It was just natural for me. So, but yeah, if you do, like you said, if you are having people that are like, why are you luckily I didn't have to deal with that very much. There was a couple of times, but most of the time people they were like, no, I get it.
I think my worry is like when people say like, oh, everyone hates me now that I did this. It's like, well, did you do it tactfully? Like, did you just let everyone know, hey, losers, I'm cutting you off because you make me a terrible person?
Well, then you're a jerk.
You're a jerk. Yeah, exactly. Like, so there's always a way. But yes, it's important to keep positive people in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question. Starting fitness when really out of shape. I think this one is one that I get every single time I do any sort of Q&A or ask for questions. And the answer is really simple. Like this still is like start slow. Mm-hmm. You can't Like especially when that's one thing they do on that show, 1 Ton Family, that I haven't really seen. I've seen like clips, but they'll show like the person in the gym, but they're not making them do the Biggest Loser workouts. They're doing very, very, very scaled back workouts. Literally, like they'll be doing squats to a box that's like 40 inches high, so they're barely bending their knees. But for them, that's enough.
Yeah.
So it's all about. One, you don't need to push yourself like super hard, crazy right at the start, especially if you're trying to lose a massive amount of weight, you need to be focused on your diet more than anything anyways. But if you do want to go to the gym, which I recommend, you don't need to be doing what you might see me doing in a video or what you might see other people doing in a video, because your fitness is going to look different right then. But eventually you'll get to a point where you're doing what the other people are doing or whatever it might be, whatever it is that you might want to do. Just focus on yourself, really, is like the answer there.
Yeah, the beauty of CrossFit, you don't have to do CrossFit, is that it really teaches that everything is scalable. And like, it's just got my mind rolling now, like thinking about the people who like watch our videos or whatever. Like, they're like, wow, like it feels really cool to put a video up where you're doing a whole bunch of muscle ups. But to maybe add in like, hey, if you can't do muscle ups but you want to do this workout, hey, try ring rows, you know, or try dips. That's just my mind automatically went to there, and I think it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like, for me, it's make sure if you feel like you had a good workout, then you're good. You know, you don't need to think like, oh, well, I wasn't able to do the cleans at that weight, or I wasn't able to do the deadlifts heavy enough. Like, no, if you felt like you had a good workout, that's all that really matters. And focus on yourself. That's like the biggest tip, I think. Yeah,
I think there's a big difference between what we call fitness and then health. That I'm like kind of processing through right now. Like fitness, Fitspo, whatever, is like all about like looking good and like putting like some super crazy workout that maybe you didn't do, but you just kind of want to post on your Instagram anyway. Or like there was like this post, I think we talked about it once, where it was like a lot of people on Instagram, what they'll do is they'll like post these crazy workouts and they say, this is how I got this body. When in reality, what they did was the standard stuff, standard bodybuilding. They got looking good, and now they want to try experimental workouts. But then all they do is post their experimental workouts because those are the more fun ones. And then everyone thinks like, oh, if I want to look like this person, I have to do burpee backflips and, you know, like all these like crazy things. That's not what they were like. They weren't in the gym doing burpee backflips. They were doing regular stuff, and then they would kind of start experimenting and be like, oh, this is fun. But that's not how they got their foundation. And so like the difference between fitness and health, it's like fitness is all about like kind of like you can't do a max snatch every day for the rest of your life, right? Like it's a cool...
Probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Like it's a cool display of fitness, but like what is health? Health is the long road. Like when you're 70, are you going to be able to move well? When you're 80, you're going to be able to move well. Like same thing like with diet. Like you can do these fad crash things, but what is health? Health is you have a healthy relationship with food that you can sustain throughout the rest of your life. And so many of us are focused on those little explosions and those little like fads, whether it be fitness fad, whether it be a diet fad, that it's so easy to ignore. Like, what's that long burn? Like, what's going to keep you healthy and sustainable for a long amount of time? And you know what I mean? What'd you say? Moderate is not marketable?
Yeah, exactly. Moderate's not marketable. And if you want, your fitness or your workout could literally be walking around the block for a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be doing, burpees or anything like that. It could be where you have to start at. That's
where you start for sure. You better get past that eventually.
Yeah, hopefully.
You know what I mean? Like it might take a long time. Like just don't think that like, oh, well, I walked the block, I'm good for 3 years. Like I can do that for 3 years. It's like, no, maybe try to walk the block and then do it again. Or maybe try a longer block or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to, this will be the last one, yeah?
Yeah.
So this one, it just kind of brought back a memory that I had. So I kind of want to talk about that. But the question was, please talk more on maintaining a positive/healthy mindset. It's hard, but so important. So it's kind of similar to what we just talked about. But it reminded me of, because like I definitely try and share a good amount on my platforms, and I try to be pretty honest. But, you know, I'm not perfect. If I'm having a bad day, I don't want to post like, hey guys, having a bad day.
Yeah.
But yesterday was rough. So I struggle with I definitely struggle with social anxiety for sure. Right. And so yesterday I had church and stuff. And then I ended up going down to this place called Liberty Station. I was going to meet my girlfriend for lunch, brunch, whatever you want to call it. And so then I ended up going to a coffee shop and I was just like around people for a good part of the day. And then we ended up going to this place called Breakfast Republic, and it was just like pretty crowded. And at first I was fine. Like I was doing fine. And then it just like social anxiety for me, it just like hits me out of nowhere. And so it ended up like just really bam. It was really, really crazy. What ends up happening is in my head, for some reason, like the ambient noise around me gets really loud. Really, really loud to like almost to a point where it's like I can't focus on anything. So then I'll like if I have something in my hand, I'll start like fiddling with it and like not look. If I'm with somebody, I won't be looking at them in the eye. And so it was like it was very obvious that I was like having a rough time. And so we ended up like eating the food or whatever, and we ended up like getting out of there. And we ended up like we had to go she had to get food and stuff like that for her like her week. So we went to like Trader Joe's or something like that. And I started feeling better, but it's like a lot of people think that because of what, like, you know, obviously mostly what I post is like the positive things, but like there's definitely like times where I'm just like, I have that social anxiety that kind of comes in. So I think that like to kind of answer the question is, don't compare yourself to what you're seeing on social media, you know, like the other people that you're seeing. Cause like, you're not going to ever see really, like most people aren't going to talk about those, you know, the times where, you know, they're having social anxiety and they're just like, you know, kind of like being a crybaby and like not able to handle being out in public, but that happens still, you know?
There was recently I was at Chipotle and
surprise.
Yeah, and it was really busy. Like it was so busy. And Sam and I were sitting there, and it was just busy all around. The line was wrapped all the way around, and we were at like a 6-seater table, but there's only 2 of us, and the line was like wrapping behind our like table, like just so busy. And for me, like I kind of got like I don't get social anxiety, but I do become like I do get like
you become very aware
stimulus
of
overload.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? Like stimulus overload. And so seeing the line, seeing that we were in a 2-person or a 6-person table, but only 2 of us,
feeling bad,
imagining that maybe there's families like, wow, look at those people. Just being the line is right next to us, so they can all just look at us. And they're just looking at us eat while they're like hungry. Yeah. So like all of that happening, I was like literally like I was like, Sam, we have to move tables. She's like, what? I'm like, let's just move tables. And we like went all the way in the back to there was like this little like tiny table, barely enough for 2 people. But we just sat there because it was like no one's looking at us. No one's thinking, wow, I wish I had their table.
Yeah.
But it was weird. It was very like we were midway through our meal and it was just like, no, we gotta move. We gotta move tables.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely, it's not every time I'm around a big crowd of people. It's definitely not like that. Yeah. But it's just, sometimes it happens. Like, I don't really know exactly what it is. So, like, I try and make sure when I was at that coffee shop, I made sure I got decaf coffee because I already had coffee in the morning because I know that caffeine is a huge, like, anxiety inducer, but it just happens sometimes. And it's frustrating, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this because when that happens, I know once I feel better, I'm going to be annoyed at how I was acting. And that's exactly how I felt. You know, luckily I was able to communicate to my girlfriend, Sharissa, like, this is what's going on. That's why I'm acting like this, you know? But sometimes I don't do that. And then the person's just like, what the heck is going on? What's wrong with this person, you know? So I think that it's, you know, it's not really answering the question, but like, you know, not everybody, like nobody's always feeling good. There's always like,
what was the question?
So the question was, one second. Please talk more on maintaining a positive / healthy mindset. It's hard, but so important.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just like, if you don't need to be perfect. Like you don't. No one is. So
yeah,
good on you. Like you don't need to be perfect because no one is. If you can recognize signs of what happens when I'm entering a bad place, try to create like just bumpers, right? Like for you, it was like I'm getting this way. That means I know this is about to happen. Let me tell my girlfriend. For me, it was like, let me just move, and then I don't have to worry about any of this.
Like a big part of it too is like the internal dialogue, like trying to turn it. Because for me, once that starts happening, my internal dialogue gets so negative. It can be so negative. Like you know the saying, "You're your own worst critic." When I'm in that, like I'm not just a critic. I'm a hateful. Like I'm a YouTube commenter. Like in my head is basically what is going on. It gets so bad.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely it's the episodes luckily are a lot more spaced out now. It used to be a really bad. I mean, you know how it was for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad for a little bit, but I think that through like trying to like recognize it faster, because if I recognize it faster, I don't let myself just live in that moment, live in that negative space. I'm not perfect, and there's still like obviously there's still episodes, but it's gotten better.
And I think like if we can learn to have more grace with ourselves. Because what happens is, what's the critic? Oh, you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, you shouldn't be this way. Wow, you're terrible. Wow, you're this. Wow, you're that. How dare you? Like, if we can learn to have more grace with ourselves, I think that helps a lot. And like for me, I'm trying to work on grace for myself, because when you start feeling really bad about yourself, you do less because you're just down now. When you're down, you don't want to do anything. So if you can be like, hey, like, all right, I'm going through this. Like today in my journal, I was down this morning. And so I'm just writing. I'm like, here are the things that are making me down. And then it literally was like,
My brother beat me in the open.
No, like, no, we still got 3 workouts left. But like, it's kind of like, oh, well, if I do this, it'll fix this one. And if I do this, it'll fix this one. And then I literally did those 2 things right then. It was like responding to people or something. And that was like, oh, okay, like I feel a little better now. I feel like I can like breathe. And so it's just having grace for yourself.
No, that's a good point, because one of the things that happens is it's not even like I live in that moment longer because I start to think, what does this person think about me? And I'm so stupid. Like I made them upset at me. Now I'm upset because I made them upset. And so it's 100% like having grace with yourself will make you like, it makes you just kind of, you're able to move on from it faster, which is important.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's it, man.
Yeah, I mean, we literally had a million other questions that we could have went through, but I think that those were the ones that flowed the best.
And I'm hungry.
So, with that being said, thank you so much for listening to episode 19 of the Work for Change podcast. Please don't forget, leave us a review, leave us a 5-star if you want to leave us 5 stars. That would be fantastic. And until next time, peace.
Peace.